Now, one of the key issues in the spotlight at the National Construction Summit 2025 is what has become known as the construction mafia. The construction mafia refers to criminal groups who demand a share of project contracts or payments, often through intimidation or violence. Addressing the summit, Public Works and Infrastructure Minister Dean McPherson said law enforcement and industry partnerships had begun to turn the tide against those criminal networks that had long disrupted building projects, extorted contractors and delayed public infrastructure delivery. Well, to understand a little bit more about this, we have asked Lufuno Ratsiku, President of the South African Council of Projects and Construction Management Professionals, a regulatory body of the build environment professions, established in terms of Parliamentary Act number 48 of 2000, to join us now to find out a bit more about that. Good evening. Thanks for joining us here on Late Edition.
Good evening, Juliet. Thanks for the opportunity.
Now, we know that construction mafia, the problem of construction mafia has been, it's been dealt with. There have been arrests, there have been inquiries, all sorts of things. Is it under control yet?
It is getting to be under good control. And as the Minister indicated earlier in his address today during the Construction Summit, there have been progressive arrests of about 700 people who have been found and charged with the acts of construction mafia. That includes disruption of ongoing projects and also extortions of cash money in construction sites. So I would say there is a light.
Who are these construction media individuals? What do these groups comprise? Who's part of them and where do they come from?
So without mentioning their entities and their belongings to that extent, these are basically people who group themselves, targeting certain projects that are proceeding well, and they see an opportunity to disrupt them and extort cash from contractors. To an extent, sometimes they threaten human life, and they use tactics such as protection fees and all those type of things. Some of them group themselves in the form of illegal business forums. Some of them masquerade as representatives of communities that communities actually don't even know them.
How do you think that government, or at least the building industry, can prevent this from growing bigger again and taking control of the construction industry?
I think the government is at the receiving end of the information they get from communities. And I think at the center of it, communities need to take keen interest in their ongoing projects because they are the end beneficiaries. They are the end users of construction products. If you think about water and sanitation projects, if you think about ongoing construction of hospitals and schools, these are communities that end up benefiting at the end of these projects. So what needs to improve is the ability to report and the ability in response by government to protect those who report this kind of things. So there's a need for collaboration. It can't be solved by government only, as good as it can't also be solved by communities only.
I want to go back to the Construction Summit. What else is being discussed at the summit?
So obviously this is where the report of the 700 people who are arrested came from as well. But there were a number of commissions that were working on various issues. Part of what came and stood out is the need for the establishment of a fund that will basically support contractors. Because part of the problems are the cash flows when contractors are awarded work of infrastructure development. There's also an issue that was raised about the need for establishment of mentorship database to try and lift these contractors that are behind in terms of their skills, technical, financial, and business management, amongst others. The other issue that was also raised is the increase of the jobs that are created by the construction industry to an extent of about 130,000 in the third quarter of 2025, amongst other issues.
And has the summit touched on AI and technology in construction?
Of course, the use of technology has been emphasized, particularly when it comes to element of safety and detection of criminals that get into the sites. Such solutions will be CCTVs that are advanced to an extent that those who disrupt construction sites cannot actually see that they are being detected, but it helps the system to save the projects. And amongst other issues is transformation and inclusivity, together with skills development. There was a point touched regarding those three aspects. Transformation being, we need to move to a point where participation of, for example, people with disability is also considered in the procurement targets. We also need to move to a point where we are able to match the experts, mentors to mentees, so that we are intentional about the skills pipeline of the industry, amongst other points as well.
I thank you for your time this evening. Very interesting there, what's being discussed at the Construction Summit being held at the moment in the country. That was Lufuno Ratsiko from the South African Council for Projects and Construction Management Professions.